Anyway, shall we do a podcast?
Yes, let's.
Okay. You ready? You're doing the recording this time?
I'm already recording.
Oh, okay. Let me get a backup recording going, just in case. After that debacle last time. You remember the debacle, right?
I don't like debacles.
Neither do I. I'm anti-debacle. 1 second. Wrong input. It's this input. Okay, that should be the right input. So you ready to do a show?
Yes, let's.
This is the Android Buffet Podcast, episode number 554, recorded Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Dum-dum-dum.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Android Buffet Podcast.
Oh, Is it exciting? Is it another? Is it Android Buffet? Is it a podcast?
Well, I was hoping, to excite you because I remember you were telling me just before we started that you were tired from your travels.
I am tired from my travels.
So I thought, I needed to inject a little extra energy into that to try to motivate you to be here.
And you did a fine job.
Yeah. Also, I've added for the people who are on the live stream, I've tried to add a ground loop hum isolator.
Those are a thing?
Well, it's supposed to eliminate hum.
Oh.
So I don't know if it does eliminate hum, but it's supposed to eliminate hum.
Are you anti-hum? Are you a hummist?
Well, this comes after last week's situation. I'm not sure if you remember what happened.
I don't remember a situation.
Well, what happened was, just to tell you the story again, we were streaming and there was a period during which the recording on my side cut out and the only recording that we had was the backup made to YouTube. So that meant I had to cut in about 2.5 minutes of YouTube and there was a hum.
A bad hum.
No, not a bad hum, just a hum.
A good hum.
No.
No.
I don't think there's such a thing as a good hum.
A neutral hum? It's not good, bad, or neutral. Gotta be something.
Yeah. Now I don't know if this works because even though I have routed through this isolator, I do not know whether or not the hum has gone away. Now I also have this other problem that I'm hearing a hum from my microphone, which is a new
I
hum.
don't hear a hum from your microphone.
Yeah.
You sound most excellent.
Yeah, it's a new hum that I didn't hear last week. So if you don't hear it, I hope nobody else hears it.
Are you sure you bought the hum isolator and not the hum relocator?
Well, the hum isolator goes in between the output from. Essentially, I stopped mixing everything. So for the YouTube version, you're in the left channel and I'm in the right channel. So the audio output from the device that does the recording just goes directly into the stream. But I essentially put this hum isolator in between. Yeah, apparently the hum is still there. This is what happens when you buy the $10 isolator.
Should you have sprung for the $12 isolator?
I don't think there was a $12 isolator. I think after that they went into the hundreds. There were several, like
God.
there are several like $10 things. I hoped it would help a bit, but I do not know where this hum is coming from, so I'll have to figure that out. It's possible that it's an insufficiently shielded something or another. Maybe I need those like little like bellens that you put over wires.
I don't know what those are.
It's like a ferrite core.
Like the thing you sometimes see USB cables
Yeah.
run around?
Yeah, one of those. That's supposed to help. And, maybe get some thicker cabling. But again, I continue to work on the problem. Also, I have a bunch of wires on the desk. It's possible that one wire is too close to another wire, so maybe I need to sort of like Velcro it down or something. So, you went on a trip. Did you use any interesting Android-based technologies on your trip, or any non-Android-based technologies?
I did learn that T-Mobile
Yes.
has treats Canada and Mexico basically just like the U.S. So,
Well, they are our neighbors to the north and south,
so no extra charges for bandwidth or calls or text or anything.
which is good.
Yep. Unfortunately, we were staying out in the middle of nowhere, so there was no T-Mobile signal there. But when we went into town, I did.
Well, I'm in a place with no signal from anybody. So last night for about 2 hours, the internet here went down and I had nothing. No mobile, no internet, etc.
Well, that doesn't sound like fun.
Probably wasn't. Also, we scared somebody away on the live stream because of the hum.
That makes you sad?
Yes. I want to get this right. It's between that and the 3D printer, which I'm still having trouble with. Now it's making loud clicking noises and having trouble advancing the filament.
Did you by chance have your turn it off right after you got done printing?
I usually let it cool down for a little while.
Sounds like you got a clog. If it's clicking, then that generally means that's the
Nope.
the gears
I cleaned out.
slipping.
I cleaned out the entire thing. There's no clog. I had to adjust the E steps as well,
Yeah.
because it was not moving things quite as well. So I suppose it's possible there's a clog further up, but there's definitely not a clog around the nozzle.
Okay.
Oh well, it's one thing or another. Either way, I was trying to make a flashing jig because my previous one fell apart. So hopefully the half-finished jig will be enough to... What's the expression? Get jiggy? What's the expression when you are using your flashing jig?
I don't know.
Well, neither do I. If this was my first attempt at a flashing jig. Previously, I just sort of held the wires in place. And that, unfortunately, doesn't work without soldering all the time, so I don't like doing it very often.
I understand.
So I have this entire set of things that I need to flash that I can't get at the pins of, and this is supposed to hold the assembly in place so that I could do it. You understand the purpose of the flashing jig?
Yes.
Yeah. So, because I've already cracked through 2 jigs, and I really don't want to have to print a 3rd jig. Is that what they mean when they say the jig is up?
I'm pretty sure that's not what they mean.
No? Okay. I'll take your word for it on that, because I'm not an expert on that sort of thing. What do they mean when they say the jig is up?
It means you're caught.
It means I'm caught? Who caught me?
I don't know. Whoever told you that the jig is up?
Okay. I'll have to find that person. So I also worked with doing some flashing. I installed the ESP Home dashboard and was flashing things using ESP Home. And I found that for switches, I think Tasmodo works better, but for sensors, I think I'm better off with ESP Home. It's a little more configurable, so I
It does
guess.
seem to support a an impressive array of
Stuff.
stuff. Yep, stuff.
So I was able to essentially upgrade, and the other thing that it includes that Tasmota doesn't is it includes the Bosch proprietary library for the BME 680, which I have, which means that it can do the calculations based on that of air quality, which technically don't come from the device but are derived. So they're estimated CO2, not actual CO2.
Oh no!
Well, again, that's fine, but I couldn't estimate because I didn't have the formula, which is apparently proprietary. Now I have the formula and the library that loads it, which is fine with me. I understand that it is closed source. I'm willing to accept that. I paid for the sensor. I'm fine. So now I can get indoor air quality out of a Bosch BME 680, and that's running. Also, I'm getting all of the other sensor readings that I already had. So these derived ones. But the other thing is ESP Home can actually do math. So it has function. I think it's called Lambda functionality, where you can have it do various formulas.
Ooh, math.
Well, no, the thing is that sometimes I want to take the data from a sensor and I want to convert it to some other format. Tasmota sort of has that with basic rules, but it doesn't have that I can do more complicated things. At least not that I've noticed. So this gives me that opportunity. So I'm hoping to do that.
I'm hoping to.
You're hoping to what?
I'm hoping that you're able to do that too.
Everything that I desire?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Well, no.
Well, I'm
Close,
referring
but
to
no.
when it. I'm saying when it comes to ESP Home, not anything else.
Ah,
So that's my story of what I've been up to. Done a few other things, and these things happen. So there were some bits of news this week. There wasn't that much going on. Google Assistant rolled out a trigger for assistant routines that will trigger when an alarm is dismissed. And I find that a very useful trigger. I don't know about you.
I think it is useful.
Yes, because there are
I
things I want to
think
have.
it's like one of those things like, okay, you finally turned off your alarm, so it's okay to, uh, turn the lights on, open the shutters, and
You have shutters?
yeah,
Okay, shutters aren't as common as they used to be.
hey, yeah, true.
No, I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying it's not as common a thing anymore. Not sure why that is, but it isn't. It isn't as common in my observation. So open the shutters, turn on the lights, whatever your wake-up routine is, which is a good idea. So there's also a nice article, Android UI Through the Ages, courtesy of the people over at Android Central, where they went through, Droid Sans all the way to Material U in a video, which I wanted to recommend because if you've been with Android that long, there's been a really long series of events.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Droid Sans.
UI is so much nicer nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, but we liked it back then.
I like it now.
Are you going to say we liked it back then because we didn't know any better? We were uneducated.
No, I
We
mean
were-
it's.
We were Philistines.
I mean, it's kind of like, when you originally watched the Terminator, the graphics were impressive. Now they're not so much because it's gotten better, but they were cool back then.
I'm trying to remember the graphics in the Terminator.
Special effects.
No, special effects I remember. I don't remember computer graphics or anything. but I haven't seen that movie in some time. Is it one of the things you rewatch regularly? I know you rewatch Leverage.
Um, yes, I like the Terminator movies, all of them.
Even the newer ones that got more critical reviews?
Yes,
Okay. So,
I do have one criticism of the Terminator universe,
okay.
and that is that the show, the Sarah Connor Chronicles,
Yeah.
got cut off way too early.
Well, I think I gathered it was a victim of the writer's strike.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, they didn't really resolve anything. So I'll agree. By
I
the way,
really like that
Daryl
show.
has said that on his island, shutters are very common. So despite the hum on the YouTube channel, Daryl has stuck with us.
Daryl loves us, and we love Daryl.
Yes. You know how the song goes. We love you, Daryl. Oh, yes, we do. Yeah, anyway. You've heard that one, right?
Nope.
Anyway, so apparently the Amazon shopping app and WhatsApp have hit 500 million downloads. Not quite as much as the billion that some other apps have hit, but a respectable number.
Yep.
Google Calendar will be charting how much time you spend in meetings.
Or at least the meetings that it knows about.
Well, if it
Which
doesn't,
is, I mean, this is all part of that whole welfare thing, right? Where
well,
Android's trying to track how much time you do and different things.
yeah, you're talking about the like digital well-being type thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's also quantified self. There are those people who are really interested in seeing statistics about themselves. You're familiar with that whole movement, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like self-quantifying?
Not so much.
I'm sort of neutral. There's some things I want to quantify and some things I don't. I don't know if I want to quantify just for the sake of quantification. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Okay. So, again, this little feature will tell you how much time you spend in meetings, assuming your calendar knows about those meetings, which is, of course, a big if. If you are a fan of Telegram and you also have a Wear OS device, apparently Telegram has decided to give up on their Wear OS app.
Hey, sometimes things take a lot of engineering effort and they're just not worth the amount of effort.
I didn't criticize it. I just
So
reported on it.
I can understand this and I can appreciate this.
Yep. So was able to get my Wear OS device working again. So my TicWatch, which wasn't charging, I was able to figure out how to get it to boot back up. I think it was just a victim of me not having taken it off the charger in such a long time that it didn't want to cooperate. But now it seems to be cooperating. I hope. So, other than that, let's see what else is going on. Google Chat now has GIF support. Or do you prefer GIF?
As long as I can understand what you mean, I don't care.
Okay. Well, no, I don't know what your preference is. What do you prefer to call it?
My head says GIF, but
I gathered that the people who developed it prefer the other terminology.
it's a GIF. It's a GIF.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yep.
If
That
your
is
boat,
not a religious island I am willing to die on.
okay. So other than that, let's see what else we have here. Movies Anywhere, which is the thing that allows you to buy a movie on one digital platform and use it on alternative digital platforms, apparently has some sort of list function that is dynamic and is available in the app. Have you used the Movies Anywhere app?
No.
I keep some movies in it that I have bought, but I don't really use the app. So I can't say whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing. So other than that,
I can appreciate that movies movies that you collect. It's a list that just grows, right?
yeah,
And I can appreciate that organizing that ever-growing list can become difficult because what good is having a gazillion movies if you can't find the one you want to watch?
I'm agreeing with you.
So, an AI assisted organization of such a list would certainly be appreciated.
Yeah, and if I use Movies Anywhere more often, I might, take advantage of it. But right now, I think I have. If a movie gives me the Movies Anywhere thing, I certainly take advantage of it and store it because you never know. But I also usually get it because I buy physical media and then I have my ripped copy. So, pros and cons. Here's one. There was a great article, A Decade and a Half of Instability, The History of Google Messaging Apps. This is a great read from Ron Amadio over at Ars Technica, who I frequently cite because he seems to be a very thoughtful writer. So Google Talk launched on August 24th, 2005, meaning that Google has been in this sort of instant messaging business for 16 years, for longer than some of its competition, but again, a lot of things happening. So they go through Google Talk, which was the first chat service built on open protocols. Then you have its death. You have Google Voice. You have Google Wave, Google Buzz. You have Disco. You have the Google Plus era. You have, of course, when WhatsApp got in, the Google Docs editor chat, Google Hangouts, Google Spaces, Google Owl, Google Duo, Google Hangouts Meet, YouTube Messages, Google Hangouts Chat, Google Maps Messages, Google Photos Messages, Google Stadia Messages, Google Pay Messages, Google Assistant Messages, Google Phone Messaging, and of course the latest, Google Chat. And the final question in conclusion, is anybody actually in charge at Google? Or at least of this?
One would think that sending, groups of, you know, characters from one individual to another individual wouldn't be so complicated, but apparently it is.
Yeah, but it is a great read if you want to read it. So I did want to just sort of mention it to people. I'm not going to just keep reading it because again, I feel like that's Ars Technica's intellectual property. But anyway, moving along, here's another good think piece. The outlet is over 100 years old and needs a smart home redesign. And I can't disagree with this thought. One, we need bigger outlets because we now have these big bricks that we have to try to put into them, and we don't have an option of something bigger. We have these deeper outlets because we're putting more intelligence inside our outlet and inside our boxes. And not everybody has deep boxes, which is always my problem. And again, the technology is not changed. So I think there's an opportunity here, and I have to agree with the author.
Yes, I would agree as well. But I have a slightly related anecdote.
I do love a good anecdote.
Did you know that Mexico also uses 120 volts? Well, they use 127 volts.
No, but I have never been to Mexico. I understand you've recently been there.
I've recently been to Mexico, and they don't have, well, new stuff does, but older stuff, like a couple years old, doesn't have a ground plug. It just has the two blades.
Yeah, which we have in the U.S. Older stuff here only has the two blades.
Which means I couldn't charge my laptop.
You didn't bring a grounding adapter?
I did not bring a grounding adapter.
Okay. I don't always bring
You know
one
what
myself.
I now have in my backpack?
A grounding adapter?
A grounding adapter.
I'd imagine that they make it easy for you to buy those there if they're used to this problem.
Maybe if you're in a touristy area. I was not.
You were not in a touristy area?
I was not in a touristy area.
What sort of area were you in? A non-touristy area?
A very non-touristy area.
Okay, so this is a problem.
Yeah,
Were you,
it
and
was.
but you were able to find a solution.
Um, would it be silly if I said I drove an hour and a half to a larger city?
To get a grounding adapter?
Yeah,
I can understand that.
I got a grounding adapter. Well, I got two grounding adapters and a power strip because my room only had two outlets in it.
Oh, I always bring a power strip along, like a travel one, but still a power strip.
Yeah.
That,
Anyway, that was my anecdote.
so I have an update to the next story on this list, which is that Locast's free service was in peril. However, it's no longer in peril. So the networks won a copyright ruling against Locast, which essentially exploited a copyright rule that allows the rebroadcast of broadcast TV as long as there's no profit associated with it. The courts ruled that because they took donations that outstripped their necessary operating costs that could be considered profit, therefore they were not allowed to do that anymore. They initially tried to just give the service to everybody for free and encourage donations, but within 24 hours of that, they just gave up and shut everything down. And I know people who love Locast.
And now they're shutting down.
No, now they're shut down.
Oh, they shut down.
Yeah.
Oh, hereby suspending operations effective immediately.
Yes.
Well, that sucks.
Oh well, every time somebody does something interesting.
No good deed goes unpunished.
So, should Google keep Fitbit as a separate brand?
I did not realize that Google owned Fitbit.
They just bought it recently. That's why should they keep
Apparently,
it?
the majority of people uh, think Google should keep it completely independent.
Well, Amazon has done pretty well with that. You know, buying companies and leaving them as independent units. You know, just doing some synergy, but allowing them to go do their own thing.
Yep.
That's not the worst thing in the world, especially when you consider some of the management at Google and what they've done. You know, look at what happened with Nest, which went through we'll keep it separate, but then we're getting rid of it. Nest is now just the name for our product line.
Yay, Google.
Yeah, well, Google is not perfect. Far from it. Here is a story that I don't know how to feel about. AT&T is trying to eliminate printed telephone directories. Clearly, Jerry, you don't know how to feel about it either.
Well, I mean, they only give them to you if you have a landline, right?
I have a landline.
Do you get one?
No, I don't want one.
Okay, but do you get one?
I think I actually do.
So we don't have a landline, so we don't get one.
Well, I have a landline here, old school plain copper wire, because the internet goes out every so often and there's no cell phone service. So I have it for emergency services.
Sure.
In my apartment, no. Couldn't care less. But that's a different problem.
But hey, I mean, I don't know how I feel about this because does anybody still need them?
Telephone books? Probably not, because a lot of people aren't in them, because if you don't have a traditional landline, if you have a more, like a VoIP line, you don't have a listing. So essentially these things have shrunk because most individuals have moved over to different ways of getting their phone service.
And I don't see,
So you only get...
from my point of view,
Yeah.
white pages and yellow pages are useless. But not everybody is in my position in my situation.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they are no longer as useful as they once were. Therefore, I don't object to them being discontinued.
Can you imagine how many trees that'll save?
Well, also, again, they're not accurate anymore. How about a bit of happy news?
Happy news. I like happy news.
It is the 30th birthday of Linux.
That's happy.
Why not? Don't you like Linux? Think of how it has
I
changed
mean,
your
for
world.
what it is, sure.
Think of how it has changed your world. Think of how many things in your life run Linux, including your Android device, which is in that family.
Sure. It even runs my 3D printer.
Yeah, which my 3D printer and I are not on good terms right now. Or ever. Anyway. I feel like I have not been successful in the 3D printer realm.
It's a process.
Yeah. Which is not working
But
for me.
the
right
Ender 3 can be a good printer.
Yeah, I know, I spoke to somebody who heard me looking for a printer, went through my rationale, bought the exact same printer as me, and has had zero problems. So I think it's just me. I'm the problem.
Could be.
And finally, on a sad note, Ed Asner passed away.
I would be sad if I knew who that was.
I'm sure you've seen him. Or heard him.
Okay.
Okay, did you ever see the movie Up?
Yes.
He did the voice of the elder gentleman.
Ah.
And I happen to have been a fan of his, and there were several occasions where I went to events where he was going to appear, because I wanted to meet him.
Did you meet him?
No, at the last event that he was scheduled to appear that I went to see him, he had to have hip replacement surgery, so he didn't show up. He did send a apology note though.
Likely excuse.
Yeah, how many hips can one guy have?
You keep replacing them a lot.
No, again, it was one of these things where I was considering going to an event, and the fact that he would be there put it over the top. Then he wasn't there.
Yep.
Things happen. But now I will not have the chance. But he was an impressive individual in terms of his credits. Anyway, by the way, since he was on the original Mary Tyler Moore show with Mary Tyler Moore, and that leaves Betty White as the sole surviving cast member of that show. So I'm just going to say, Betty White, do not die. I don't know if I can take it right now. That's an especially sad note on which to end, isn't it?
I guess.
Well, on a hopeful note, maybe by next week I will have successfully flashed something with my half-finished programming jig, or I will have printed 3 more jigs, and one of them will actually print out properly. We'll see. So that brings us to the end of the program. And Jerry, few local notes. Happy Labor Day to you in advance, which is this coming Monday.
Woo! Long weekend.
Yep.
I think.
Well, longer for me. Monday night is Rosh Hashanah, so for me, Happy New Year.
Cool.
And then next week, which is on, let's see, that next Wednesday, that holiday ends, so I will have no problem being here on Thursday. However, the following week, I have a holiday that starts on Wednesday night and ends on Thursday night, so that may cut it a bit close. So I may ask you if we can push this back an hour to 10 o'clock the following week.
I'm sure that won't be a problem.
Okay, I'll have to check my calendar and confirm that that gives me enough time, because that holiday is the fasting one, and I want to eat, because if I don't eat before doing the show, after not having eaten for 20 plus hours, probably not a good idea.
I understand.
Yeah. So I'll figure out the timing. I just have to find out the schedule. Anyway, so this has been a nice, short little show, and we'll talk again next week.
Until next week, folks. Good night.
And goodbye to everybody on the stream.
Goodbye.
That's Daryl.
Bye. Goodbye, Daryl.
Hopefully I'll figure.
Recording stopped.